everybody? What's up? It's WOD Studios, the best in college radio, hosting KBR Sports, the best sports talk show of your 24-hour day. I'm your host, Brendan Nabin, with my co-host to my left, Rashad Pannell, and our guest, Rudy Henderson, returning again today. You know, Rudy was on the show on Tuesday. He's returning again. As you can see, he's filling in the spot for our other co-host, Khalid Lewis, who couldn't be here today. But we're ready to talk sports today. Bright and early. Today, the topics are going to consist of, the Warriors. We're talking about the Warriors and how disrespected they should feel by people because of how everybody's pretty much claiming their championship as a lucky championship. And I mean, every championship comes with a little bit of luck, but theirs have a little bit more to it. And then is Steph Curry the best 3-point shooter of all time? Not just in the game right now, but of all time. That's a great question. Many people have been debating for a good amount of time now. And then does LeBron really deserve to be at the top of the MVP voting by the media already? That's another discussion in and of itself. And then also we're going to talk about the NFL's fines recently for players on their customization of their apparel, such as the eye black that a lot of players have been wearing to such as Cam Hayward for the Steelers and also D'Angelo Williams of the Steelers. We'll talk about the fines that they've received from the NFL. And then we'll go on to talk about our predictions for the World Series as the series sits at 2-0 right now in favor of the Kansas City Royals. But starting off with the basketball, the Golden State Warriors have received a lot of, kind of flack for their championship win. A lot of people saying, hey, y'all had a lucky run. Y'all didn't have any, y'all went through it and y'all didn't have to face any of the league's top point guards. At every single team they played, the starting point guard of the team was hurt. They played the Pelicans, they played the Rockets, and I think they also played.
They played the Grizzlies.
They played the Grizzlies. That's it. Yeah, they played the Grizzlies.
It was Pelicans, Grizzlies, Rockets.
Yeah, there you go. And then once they get to the finals, they end up playing Kyrie. They only end up playing the Cavaliers with Kyrie Irving. Only ended up playing one game until he went out with a fractured kneecap.
And Love was hurt.
Yes, and Kevin Love was also hurt. So then the question now is being raised to people: was the championship just purely based off luck? Like, would they have won if everybody was at full health, or would with a full healthy Grizzlies team, a full healthy Pelicans team, or a fully healthy Rockets team, and especially a healthy Cavaliers team, would they have lost? Rudy, we'll start off with you. What do you think about how the Warriors should feel about everybody pretty much atoning this championship to luck rather than their actual greatness as a team?
I think they should feel extremely disrespected because, like you said, every championship comes with a little bit of luck. But with them, I think that they should feel disrespected because everyone's basically saying you had the easy road and whatnot. It's not their fault.
Mm-hmm.
You win the most games in the NBA, you get the number one seed. You're supposed to get an easier road than most teams, and they took care of business. People also are soon to forget that same Warriors team was pretty good competition against the Spurs the previous year when the Spurs went and won the championship. So I think it was a coming of age sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
They were the best team from beginning of season to end of season last year. I think they deserved to win it. As far as the Cavaliers not having Kyrie and Kevin Love, the blow there was Kyrie because when Kevin Love wasn't playing, they played better.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a little fortunate Kyrie didn't play. It's a little fortunate they didn't have to play the Spurs or the Clippers, but if it was meant for them to play the Spurs or the Clippers, those two teams would have won their series.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, Rashad, how about you? What is your thoughts on it?
You still can't really take away from what they did, how good they were of a team. But you know what I'm saying? A lot, like you said, a lot of times the teams they played were hurt. Point guards were hurt, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Key core pieces of the team were hurt. So it's kind of saying they had the easier road, but at the same time you can't take away from their accomplishments. So I feel like for people to be talking about them and stuff like that, I'm like that's completely disrespectful in a sense that you can't take away from how great of a team they were, and it's not their fault they were healthy, stuff like that.
Exactly.
I agree with both of y'all because I mean, getting to the NBA championship in and of itself, getting to that championship dance is no easy feat. Like you have to beat a team 4 out of 7 contentions. Like that's hard to do. And these are all top level talent teams in the playoffs. And I mean, you can't hold it against a team. That's like saying, oh, because Michael Jordan's Bulls were fully healthy and Magic Johnson's Lakers weren't fully healthy at the time that they played, Michael Jordan's first championship isn't as authentic. That's crap. I mean, so we're going to take away championships now. We're going to discredit championships now just because a team wasn't fully healthy. That's not their fault that they just so happened to be healthy at the point in time of the finals came around. And it's not like it's the other team's fault that they weren't healthy. But you can't discredit a team because the Cavaliers were still good competition for them in the NBA Finals. And I mean, it's up to one's own opinion if they believe that the Cavaliers at full health would have beat the Golden State Warriors, because nobody knows how that would have taken place. I mean, it's all a lot of if and or buts. But as we saw, the Cavaliers were a really good defensive team in the finals, and then Steve Kerr made the adjustment to put Andre Iguodala in the starting lineup, and which was what changed the series around. So that also comes down to great coaching. Whereas David Blatt in the finals, the one edge they had was Timothy Mozgov. But then you started playing to the Warriors' style of play. You started putting in smaller lineups, which resulted in a lot of Warrior fast break threes, a lot of Warrior spacing the floor. And then the Cavaliers don't have the same kind of spacing without a Kyrie Irving or without a Kevin Love. So a lot of that goes into it. A lot of coaching and everything goes into it. And granted, even though the starting point guards in some of the other series weren't healthy, Mike Conley did play in the series.
He did.
Yeah, so it's not like Mike Conley wasn't there in the Grizzlies series. And the Grizzlies were up 2-0 on the Warriors, and the Warriors came back and won. So the Warriors faced adversity throughout the series and then came back and won. So the fact that the Clippers who didn't handle business on their side of the bracket when they played the Rockets after being up 3-1, they didn't handle business. It's kind of weird that you're going to come out and say
they were lucky.
Yeah, you know what I mean? They were lucky when you couldn't even handle your business. Now, if I asked y'all the question, do you think the Warriors would have won if the teams were at full health? Well, how would y'all feel?
Yes.
Yes.
They would have beat the Pelicans.
Still say yes?
They would have beat the Pelicans. The Grizzlies somewhat were at full health. I mean, I guess you can say they were like 80%.
Mike Conley didn't play one game. He didn't play like 1 or 2 games in the series. They went to
exactly.
6, so.
But I'm saying for argument's sake. For argument's sake,
they won the 2 games without him.
They would have. Yeah, they would have beat the Grizzlies just because their pace is just the Grizzlies can't handle pace. They can't handle pace and they can't handle a lot of scoring. They predicate their team on defense and low scoring games. Like you saw, if you watched the games yesterday, they just got blown out by the Cavaliers because the Cavaliers got out and ran.
Yeah.
And the Grizzlies couldn't do anything about that. And then as far as the Rockets, they were gonna beat the Rockets. I don't know. I don't know how to explain the Rockets. The Rockets are a team that when you don't want them to win a series, they'll win it, and when you expect them to be competitive, they lose. So I don't really know what to think or say about the Rockets.
It's like the Rockets will have favorable matchups, and then they end up losing the series somehow.
Like last night, you see they're playing the Nuggets. Oh, easy win, blowout, and they get blown out by 20 at home. So
yeah, and James Harden has a terrible game too.
Exactly,
yeah.
Little B.
What it?
Apologize to that man, Little B.
It's funny. Every single when I watch Chris Smoot now, every single time he references it now, whenever James Harden does it in 2K, he's like, "No, don't do it." The curse. So what did you think, Rashad, about them possibly winning if the other teams were still healthy?
I still think they would win because you can't take away from still how good that team was, and that team was healthy.
Yeah.
So that team already jumped from healthy.
And they were the best offense and defense throughout the whole season. So
like I still think Draymond Green, top defender.
Mm-hmm.
He deserved to be up there where he was.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't take that away. And then you have 2 scorers out there, 2 electrifying scorers, and Klay Thompson and Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Can't take that away.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take away how fast they run. You can't take away the depth on their team. Like they go into their bench, they go into their bench and still put up points like the starters in the game.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't got that, that freakish video game like scoring coming out there, but you're still getting all your points. Like your points per possession don't really drop when your bench comes in. That's what makes them so great.
Yeah,
is how good their starting 5 is and their reserves are.
Yeah.
So you can't really take that from them. So even if another team was healthy, I still don't think they can outlast the Golden State Warriors in a 7-game series last season.
All right, now key question for y'all: do you see them going back this year?
See, that's a hard thing to do, especially because this team is still young. Also, going back to back, I don't see it happening this year. The team's going to be electrifying again, but because they're a young team, and I really don't completely see that veteran leadership there anywhere. I feel like it's gonna be hard to go back to back.
All right, then. All right, Rudy. Let me hear what you think about them going back to back.
Every time you say back to back, I think
did you think of Drake?
Back to back. It's gonna be like Rashad said. It's gonna be very difficult for them to go back to back. I want to give them the respect of saying that they will, but then I look at the Western Conference and it's stacked. We say that every year, but in more ways than one, it's absolutely stacked. You have the Spurs adding LaMarcus Aldridge.
Yeah, it's a big one.
You got Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook coming back, and they just dropped 55 together last night, beating that same Spurs team we were just talking about.
Yeah.
If the Rockets get Dwight Howard back and get in sync, they're still going to be a dangerous team. The Clippers are going to be a dangerous team. They got some new weapons coming off the bench there.
Yeah.
So, especially at the top, it's loaded. And then even when you get down to the bottom tier teams, you have an MVP candidate sitting on the Pelicans. You have competitive teams like, the Mavericks and possibly the Suns down there that are always going to give whoever they play fits because of good coaching and veteran and presence.
Yeah.
So, I say they might get to the Western Conference Finals, but I don't know if they'll go all the way again.
Who do you see them playing in the Western Conference Finals?
In the Western Conference Finals, I have them playing either the Spurs or Oklahoma City. I don't think that the Clippers are disciplined enough. I honestly think that that's a team, this may sound harsh, but I think that's a team that may need to be blown up. Blown up because if you consistently make it to the playoffs but consistently don't get to what the goal is, there's something wrong. You switch the coach.
Yeah.
Only thing you have, you switch the owner, you switch the uniforms. The only thing you haven't switched is the players. You see what I'm saying? Something
they do that little swaps in it.
They do swaps on the bench. You have to do something about those starters.
But their problem has been their small forward position and their bench. So they went out and got Lance Stevenson.
That's not helping.
However much
that makes me want to replace the owner again. That's not a good move.
And then they went and got Paul Pierce.
That's a good move.
Who's a shooter?
That's a good move
in that 3 spot, because now you can relegate Matt Barnes to the bench or keep him as a starter, whichever one you want to do. And then, actually, Matt Barnes not on the team anymore.
Yeah, Matt Barnes is gone.
Yeah, but you put Paul Pierce in that starting one, so now you have a shooting 3. Matt Barnes is all right from shooting 3s, but Paul Pierce is actually a striker. So now you have somebody that actually spreads the floor out better for Chris Paul and Blake Griffin. So I mean,
so here's my thing though. How long is the leash? Because you can't have a team make the playoffs. What would this be if they make the playoffs this year? Like, 5 years straight?
Yep.
About 5 years straight under the CP3, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan experiment.
3 years, I think.
Or 3 years straight. 3 to 4 years straight. We've known in other professional sports like football, you have a way shorter leash than that. You have a head coach that wins 12 games this season and 2 the next season, and he's gone. It's not good to be consistently mediocre or consistently spinning your wheels in the same place.
Yeah,
something has got to change. I don't know which position they'll need to trade off. I don't know what they'll need to do, but I think major changes will need to come to that team if they don't get back to the Western Conference Finals or the championship.
I think a big part of what's going on with the Clippers is also because of the fact that DeAndre Jordan just can't hit free throws.
He can't. He can't really score without the assistance of somebody throwing it an inch away from the rim. So. I mean, if I'm lying, I'm dying, and I'm feeling real live right now.
He does score off a lot of lobs, but a lot of times when teams go to that hack a Shaq strategy, which the league is.
That's
an
insult to Shaq with DeAndre's free throw percentage. Like, this is a hack of DeAndre now. We're in the hack of DeAndre era because Shaq could at least hit 1 out of 2.
He could.
DeAndre might hit 1 out of 7.
Come on, man.
But those games when he's on though. That's when you know
that's the problem.
That's
how often.
The one game the 82 games in a season, he's on every once in a while. So I'll say maybe 3 out of 82.
He shot like 38% last season. Why? That's people's 3-point percentage.
See, that's why I don't understand. Like, if you know you're that person that's going to constantly get fouled like that. Practice, nothing but practice for free throws.
People say it's because they got big hands.
Yeah, the excuse is that the basketball feels like a grapefruit in their hands or something like that. You know what I'm saying? They said that to him, the equivalent of shooting the basketball would be if you or I was holding a grapefruit.
But but Michael Jordan had large hands and he could hit free throws.
Yeah, well, we're talking about the greatest player ever, though.
Dirk Nowitzki got big hands.
We're talking about one of the greatest power forwards ever.
LaMarcus Aldridge got big hands. He can hit free
throws. Once again, great scorer.
Marcus Gasol.
Once again, great big man.
Marcus Gasol can hit free throws.
Can we talk about somebody like Anthony Tolliver? Can we talk about someone like Anthony Tolliver?
So DeAndre Jordan's not great.
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
He's not great. He's not. Is that
in comparison to all the people that you just listed, he's nowhere on that tier now.
But isn't that his goal?
That is his goal, but he's not on Mark Gasol level. He's not on
And
younger
free
Dirk
agency-
level.
In the free agency target, people
In the-
are targeting DeAndre.
In
He
the
can
free
say
agency
more than
target, they were
Marc Gasol.
targeting DeAndre because he's an athletic young big man who they think that they could shape into something. We've learned from people trying to shape him into something that the only thing that you can shape him into is a backwards dunk on an alley oop instead of a forwards one. His post game isn't there. He gets a little aggressive on the defensive end, which isn't a bad thing, but he gets himself in foul trouble, and that doesn't help the team at all. And then when you foul him, he can't hit the broadside of a barn with a basketball.
Come on,
So
bro.
was the
Got the
money
return.
was the money coming at him
Oh, God.
was the money coming at him worth it? I think if he would have received a big payday, he owed half of his check to Chris Paul.
Wow.
Because had he been on any other team, like had he been on like the 76ers, he wouldn't do anything like whatsoever. His game is predicated around him having a great point guard. That's what I'm saying. When you throw out names like LaMarcus Aldridge and Dirk and Marc Gasol, he'll never be on their level because they can get their own shot. They can facilitate the ball to other people. They can play not the same level of defense as him, but they're complete players as a whole, and they're great at something. He's not really great at anything. I mean, you can say he can block shots, but pretty much everyone that tall can block shots. Anthony Davis is a great shot blocker. He doesn't get in foul trouble. DeAndre Jordan is a shot-changing presence.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. But going on from the Warriors,